Hey guys, BuildZoid here, and I got a 6900 XT Ultimate, and I also got it to 6th place on the 3D Mark Firestrike Extreme Rankings on HardwareBot using air cooling, just the stock cooler on the card came with, and a big part of what made it possible for me to achieve this score is that I have a much higher power limit than what you normally get on a 6900 XT. As you can see, my card hit 401 watts of GPU power draw. And so today I'll be showing you how to make a power play table because that's how you get things like the ability to raise the power limit so much. So yeah, and the power play table I used for this score is based off of the 6900 XT OC formula BIOS. There is I've actually posted the .reg file, like the contents of the .reg file, for that power play table to my blog. I will include a link to it down in the description below if anybody wants to sort of like use that, that power play table. It doesn't use the stock power limits from the OC formula. Anyway, today we're gonna take a look at how at least I make custom power play tables from well, it's not a custom. Like the thing is, you don't even necessarily need a custom power play table. It's just like if for whatever reason you want to replicate the power behavior of a certain BIOS, like the power and clock behavior of a certain BIOS, you can do this with a soft power play table. And then the nice thing about doing it this way is you don't have to worry about flashing the BIOS on your GPU. So yeah, it just sort of because with BIOS flashes, like the part I don't like about flashing BIOSes is that I have some GPUs now where it's like I have no idea what the BIOS on them is. There's probably like a variety, like multiple different modifications on those BIOSes at the same time. And so it makes it really awkward working with those GPUs when it's like, why does this GPU exhibit X behavior XYZ? And it's like, oh, it's because like I disabled power management or something in the BIOS. So the nice thing about soft power play tables is that you can keep like vanilla BIOS, like a stock BIOS, without any weird stuff in it, um, and then just get the power behavior of like get customized power behavior. So anyway, let's do this. So there's multiple different ways about getting the power play table of a GPU BIOS, but for today we're just going to download a GPU BIOS off of the off of Tech PowerUp. And yeah, so we're going to use, I don't know, maybe this BIOS right here. We're just going to close all of these. So yeah, here we have our BIOS. This has a 400, like the nice thing is like we have a few limits here. So like we have a power limit, we can change that. So anyway, we're just going to download that. And then we're going to put it over into my folder that I'm using for all my 6900 XT, like messing around with 6900 XT stuff. So we put the file in here, and yeah, this is the BIOS I used for the original, like power play table, and this is actually what you end up with when you finish the modification, is you end up with a file that looks like this, and then you just install that on the system with the GPU in question. The one thing that you need to watch is this part right here. So if you only ever had one GPU in the system, you would actually have like a 000 for that. But if you have like a multi-GPU setup or you've run multiple different GPUs using the same driver install, every GPU gets its own registry entry. So if you have like if you ran 5 different GPUs through one set of AMD drivers, like, and you're trying to apply a power play table to the 5th GPU you're running, you're going to have to be like on the 004. But anyway, so that's just sort of like the registry file thing. And yeah, and all of this hex is the actual power play table. So anyway, we're gonna close that. We're not gonna save any mods because that works, and I don't want to touch it. um, but yeah, so we have our new BIOS file, and we're just gonna open that up in HXD, which is a hex editor. And that looks like this. And I can't read any of this, but we don't need to worry about that. And then we're going to use Atom BIOS Reader. So this is a utility that I'm going to Google it and hopefully put a link in the description under the video for this utility. Anyway, with this, you open the file, like you open the BIOS file, which I'm not going to do on this screen. Because Yeah, I don't really want to show you all my files on my system. Anyway, here it is. Yeah, so you get this screen when you open BIOS Reader. And this is the BIOS the new BIOS we just downloaded. We're just going to open that. And you can see it just creates a text file like this. If you go to that text file, right, and this is what Atom BIOS Reader looks like when it works. Anyway, you get this part right here, which is the power play inflow. What's cool, what's interesting to me about Navi is the power play table is ridiculously long. Like, it is, this is the length of the table, this is the offset that it's at, so we're going to copy this. We're going to go to HXD, we're going to do a, no, not a find, we're going to do a Control G, so go to. We're going to put in our offset, and bam, where is it? Oh, down here. Okay, so we have A609, and this right here is a good indicator that you found what you're looking for, because 09A6 is the length of our table. So we have 09A6. Perfect. So we found our table. So now we just highlight all 09A6, and we have the length indicator down here, right? We're just going to keep highlighting so until we get to 9A6. Oh, perfect. So that was really quick. So now we're just going to copy that, and we're going to make a new file in HXD. We're going to make this. And the reason why we do this is this, like, when you're in your hex editor, it makes it a lot easier to search for stuff and modify things. So if I want to change the power limit right now, what I'm going to do is we're going to close this. We're going to put this away. And if we look on Protect Power Up, it says 325 watt power limit. So we're going to get out our calculator. Right, there's our calculator. We're going to put it in programmer mode. We're going to put in our decimal value of 325. Lovely. And that is 0145, so that's going to be 4501. So we're just going to search that up. 4501. And we're looking for hex values. And bam, it finds it right there, and that's our power limit. Yeah, so now if we want to change the power limit to something higher, like let's say I wanted so what I normally do is like 1FF, because with 1FF you just replace this value right here with FF instead of 45, and that gives us a 511 watt power limit. But theoretically you could also punch in FFFF, and then you have a 65,000 watt power limit. Now, the reason I haven't done that yet is I'm not entirely certain that the AMD drivers, like with a lot of older GPUs, if you punch in FFFF, you get no power limit, effectively. If you punch that into the modern GPUs, I don't actually know what happens. They might have a safety to prevent you from doing that. But yeah, so here's our power limit value. We're just going to change that to FF. If there's any other modifications you want to do, you're going to probably be doing them in the hex editor in this configuration. Because again, it's just like you can actually search through this very, very easily. But now that we've modified our power play table, we're going to make ourselves a text file. So we're going to call it 2. There we go. And we're just going to grab the whole thing. This is where we do the formatting, because you'll notice that the .reg file has like commas between all of the values, right? So we've just copied over our entire power play table. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do an edit and replace. And we're just going to replace spaces with commas. And we're going to do replace all. Bam. And now it's formatted for the registry file. So now we're just going to copy paste one of these. I said copy, and I said paste. There we go. And we're just going to edit this, and we're just going to go from the hex value all the way to the bottom. And so we can delete all of that, because like the only part we really want is like this first part of this. And then we take all of this, copy it over, and bam, we've got ourselves, and now you save this and you have a new power play table. And then you just run this like this. This is a reg file, so yeah. So now you would just run this. Now we are not currently on the system with the 6900 XT. So we're not actually going to run this, but you would move this to the system with the card that you're trying to mod, or you could make it on the system with the card that you're trying to power play table mod. Um, yeah, so once you've done this, you just run it, and then you have to restart the system or restart the drivers. But I'd say you're better off just restarting the whole system, unless you're running a sketchy memory overclock that doesn't like rebooting every so often. So yeah, that's how you make a soft power play table. My way. I don't know if there's a better way to deal with the formatting for the commas, but it doesn't take that long, right? Like just run a find and replace. And yeah, and then when you're actually applying the registry file, like the thing is like this is the thing to keep in mind. Is just like make sure that this matches up what GPU like the GPU registry entry that you actually want to hit. So yeah. And I used this to basically give myself a 511 watt power limit on the 6900 XT that I got to 6th place. And yeah, and you can use any BIOS. The reason I use the OC formula BIOS for this was because we have a 420 amp current limit. Theoretically, we can mod that as well from the registry. So if we go to HXD again, and we pull up our calculator again, I believe if we just punch in 420, then we get, yeah, so we get 01A4. So we're going to look for A401. A401. And we have this value right here. And ideally what I'd want to do is actually compare that against a BIOS with a not the same power limit. So actually we're going to do that. Like I was thinking we'd end the video here, but no, we're gonna do a little bit of we're going to be a little bit more advanced about this. Where'd that go? Where did the file go? Oh, there it is. Okay, where's that folder I was using for all of the modifications? Here it is. So we're going to chuck this in there. So this is the Red Devil BIOS, and that has a 320 amp limit. So we're just going to do Atom BIOS Reader again. Oops. And I'm just going to do that off screen again because actually, wait. We don't have to do it off screen because now it opens up and yay! All my files are hidden, so we're going to open up that BIOS. Perfect. It's this one. So now we just need to scroll through this. We have a power play, same length, which you'd expect, different offset, I think, which is also what you'd expect. Anyway, so now we're going to open this up in HXD, and we're going to rip out the power play table from this, and we're going to compare it against the power table that we have from the OC formula. And that way you can sort of hunt down any like configuration differences between different GPU BIOS versions for the power play table. Like also you can just run a file comparison for the whole BIOS if you want to look at like memory timings or something, because the BIOSes contain so much stuff. But the thing is like you can only, when it comes to shoving things into the Windows registry for like lifting the power limit and that kind of thing, you can only do the power play table. So you can't like insert, like as far as I know, you can't insert like new custom memory timings into the registry to do that, which is a shame. But anyway, yeah. So we're just gonna do our go to offset, and it is a different offset. Yeah. So now it's 1B. Whoa. That is very different. Instead of 1A. But anyway, and again, we see 09A6, which is what we want to see. So now we're just going to highlight 09A6. There. So there. So we're going to highlight all of that. We're going to make a new file. Bam. Yes. And now we're going to compare Untitled 2 against Untitled 1. We're going to do, where's Untitled 1? Boom. And I don't know what that is. That might be clocks. I don't know what that is. But no, not find. F6. So there we have another difference. Whoa, these are really different. To my great surprise. I have no idea what most of it does. But anyway, so yeah, here you can see my power limit adjustment, right? So if we look at Untitled 2, it's 014C, so we're just going to go into hexadecimal. We're going to go 01 for C, and that is a 332 watt power limit, which matches up with what we have on Tech Power Up. So yeah, like you can check your work against Tech Power Up basically by doing that. And then we're going to do F6 again. And now we get to the what I suspected is the current limit. So we have 0140 versus 01A4. So we're going to check if that's actually the case. So 0140, 320 amps, which is, again, what we have on Tech Power Up. So, okay, that's neat. And then the OC formula BIOS was 0144, no, 01A4. Yeah, 01A4, 420 amps. So now I would consider, so at this point I'd say, yeah, this is definitely where the current limit is. And theoretically, if we wanted to blow out the current limit, we could just punch in FFFF for both values again. Or, you know, 01FF or like 02. Like if you want to be somewhat safe, you could have like a 767 amp current limit with like a 02FF. But FFFF, like just 65,000 watts. Like, I mean, 65,000 amps and 65,000 watts. Like, the main thing with doing the FFF settings is that I am not sure that they're actually going to apply. I have no way of getting the card to pull more than 400 watts currently. The highest power consumption I've seen from my 6900 XT is like 403 watts. Without more and with more voltage, with more voltage, I assume like it shouldn't be too hard to get it to pull even more power. But the thing is, I don't really have enough cooling currently to do that, I'd say. So, yeah, the next step for me is mostly just like, where was I going with this? Also, we want to highlight the same values. So the main thing is, like, I'm not sure, well, like I'm not sure that like if there's like some like driver side like a limit power limit that takes priority over what you punch into the power play table. That's my main concern. Is like there might be a hidden power limit that you can't see, which would be super annoying. But if there isn't, yeah, you could just punch in FFFF for all of your current and power limits, and then you have an unlimited power BIOS. And you can do this on basically any AMD GPU. And yeah, there's other differences in the rest of the power play table, but I unfortunately don't know how to read this. I'm gonna assume that it's mostly just like clocks that are different. Like if we go to Tech Power Up, so let's see. So we have uh, and no, not real differences. Also, you can tweak like the temperature limits, which I'd recommend you don't do. That's bad. Also, I'm not sure you get VR. Actually, those might be in the power play table. I'm not sure. But the temperature limits for the GPU core itself are in the power play table, but I wouldn't change those if I was you. You can also like theoretically modify the frequency ranges, but it seems the driver has a way of like blocking that. So yeah, anyway, that's it for the video. So that's how I make custom power play tables for GPU, like soft power play tables for GPUs. And if you want to mess around with this is like step one. Unfortunately, like I basically know how to take a power play table, pull it out of a BIOS, stick it into a .reg file, shove it into the registry. I also know how to change the power and like current limit, and that's about the limit of my abilities. Well, I can also change clocks, but the thing is with 6900 XTs, I don't think that actually works. Might be interesting to try take like a regular 6900 XT BIOS and shove it onto a like 6800 XT. Like see if you can raise the clock limits by doing that. And I don't mean like not like take the power play table and shove it into the registry of a system with a 6800 XT. Because that might raise the core clock limits on the 6800 XT. As far as I know, those have a 2800 on the core, which given enough cooling, you should be able to exceed that. Like I'm running my 6900 XT on air cooling at like 2820 for the max core clock. So yeah, 2800 seems a bit low, but I don't like without having a card in hand to test with. Yeah, there's not really any way I can do that. But yeah, if you want to mess around with that, well, now you know how to do that. And the cool thing about this is that if you screw up, all you have to do is like display drive. You just DDU the drivers, right? So display driver uninstaller. You just run that, and it'll take care of any, because like that wipes the registry entries. So you don't have to worry about like screwing up your registry too much. At least I've not managed to screw up my registry, but I like, yeah. Like basically, if you just uninstall the drivers, it takes care of any issues you can create with this, which is much less, which is much safer than like a full blown, flash a different BIOS to your GPU, because uh your GPU will stop booting if you do that, and if you don't have dual BIOS, it can make it very, very difficult to recover from that. And by that I mean dual BIOS on the GPU. So yeah. Anyway, I figured I might do a video about this. That's how I make custom power plate. Well, I feel like calling them custom power plate tables is giving me too much credit, because like I'm changing two values in the power plate table. I do like, there's the whole like knowing where to rip it from, but then it's like, yeah, you change two values and it's like, oh, how very custom of you. You changed 8, like what, maybe 16 byte, no, like 4 bytes, I think. No, 32, no, wait, 8 bytes. Because each of the... Okay, you know what? Let's not get into that. I have... No, it's 4 bytes. Yeah, because each entry in, like, each of these is 1 byte. Right? Yeah. Because each hexadecimal... Yeah. So it's just 4 bytes. It's like, yeah, how very custom of me. I changed 4 bytes. Anyway, yeah, now that I've embarrassed myself by demonstrating my great understanding of binary and hexadecimal and bytes, yeah, that's the end of the video. So, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, suggestions down in the comment section below. If you'd like to support what I do here with actually hardcore overclocking, I have a Patreon, which, huge thanks to the patrons, because without you guys, well, I wouldn't have a 6900 XT. And there's also the AHOC Teespring store where you can pick up shirts, stickers, posters, the usual YouTuber merch. Same thing, if you bought anything on Teespring, very much appreciated, because I had to buy that 6900 XT, and it was not cheap. In fact, it was so expensive that I almost made a unboxing video of it to try milk it for more views, but unfortunately I don't know how to make unboxing videos, so I ended up scrapping it. But yeah, hopefully this was somewhat helpful. And yeah, you can apply this to basically... the oldest card I've done this with is like a 7970. I think you might even be able to do this on 6000 series and maybe even 5000 and 4000 series cards, but I've not looked into it. So yeah, but anyway, hopefully this is somewhat useful. Thanks for watching, and right, support links down in the description. Seriously, 6900 XT Red Devil Ultimate, even though it's just the air-cooled one, still very expensive. So, yeah, Patreon would be much appreciated, and Teespring. And yeah, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.